That's
of
absolute truth.
melanated people who claim their ancestors have always been on every continent.
Absolute truth.
The Australians is the
Sorry.
only people that said that they migrated from the Polynesian islands to the island of Hawaii. And the genetic record trace that they supposed to have done verified the tribal claim that they migrated across a series of islands that's now underwater that took them to the continent of Australia from the Melanesian people, right?
Okay.
So it's the same, the people in the bushes in South America, they say they always been there. They not quite dark as us, and they got straight hair, but they ain't Europeans,
Mhm.
right? So when you get to where you got the people in Belize and you start questioning their elders, they're gonna say, really, our people was here long before 1492. The same with the Afro Mexicans. They ain't no immigrants. They organic to the land. And then they amalgamated with people that came by ship and by Bering Strait from Siberia and as the dynasties of China, and from Japan by boat from the imperial dynasties of Japan. And that's all in the dynastic record of the Japanese and the Chinese, and how they brought the kings of the land, the many brides on their ships. It's all recorded, and it's not hard to find. It's just that the understanding to push the Western narrative is to usurp all organic people, no matter where they at, from the place they organic to. We organic to the Americas, though we may have phenotypical traits of Africa. We might share the common heavy melanin, and we might share the common kinky hair. But all of us don't got kinky hair. Some of us is darker than me, and their hair is straight, bone straight, silky, with no perm and no straightener. But then you got some that's lighter than me, hair nappy as sheep wool. But we
Yeah.
still here. We never went nowhere. The grand illusion is to convince us that we wasn't always here. It don't work on me because I know we was always here.
One more question. So, what's the resolve? I mean, to improve our relationship and to get the truth out. What's the resolve? Is the resolve for us to keep going back and forth with each other, the Pan Africans against the what is it, Aboriginals, natives? I'm just, just trying to make a point. I mean, what's the resolve for us to keep going back? What's the resolve? What's the source of the division and the lies, the
War.
miseducation, misinformation? What's the
War was
source?
the source.
Repeat that again. I didn't hear you.
War was the source. All of this is a war that was being fought after the physical conflict. Everybody started resorting to sorcery magic in order to try to one up each other. And now we not in a physical war. We in a bloody spiritual war that's to be fought by conjurers, sorcerers, magicians, shamans, priests. It's no longer left up to the generals, but to the priests to resolve the spiritual inequalities. By resolving the spiritual inequalities, you start to balance the people wherever they at. First, you got to be satisfied to be who you is and where you from, wherever you from, because you can't come into another person's reality and tell them where they from if you don't want them telling you where you from. Right? It's called mutual respect. We come in with the respect, and then we don't have to be put in the place for being disrespectful. And the conflict resolves itself. Africans is from the continent of African, even if they don't call themselves African, right? We don't mind them people. They can come visit, they can move over here and marry who they want. We always been that way. But don't try to discredit us from being the people from over here being systematically murdered in the street like dogs, executed by the system as innocent men and women and children, and some of us with handicaps, and tell us how we supposed to behave to the common threat. This is the result of that war going spiritual in order to meet the so-called war in heaven that fell on earth. In order to resolve the matter, you have to resolve both. Because as above, so below. If you can't reconcile the spiritual realm, you'll never reconcile the physical realm. The physical realm reflects the work done in the spirit realm. The spirit work is done by spirit workers. No matter what you call them, witches, oracles, priestesses. It don't matter how many of them you try to burn at the stake. We're going to keep coming until we come with a solution. And the only solution is give everybody their own dignity and end the war. Period. If you don't end the war results in systematic divide and conquer in order for the conflict to remain in place. Take away the strategy of divide and conquer, you undermine the ability to keep people at odds with each other when all they got to do is be themselves. You're going to naturally gravitate to the ones like you, tribing up. Pursue your best life and draw down the best energy from the spirit realm. Enough of us do it, we manifest reality of a physical realm that's heaven on earth.
Yeah, I got you.
So the more of us that understand the concept, the easier it is to resolve the conflict. If you can find a reason to see another human child and say, let it die, you need to deal with that issue. Because that energy is what's holding you back from reaching ascension caliber energy. Seeing the system as the game of the gods as opposed to the victims and humanity. Once you start seeing it for what it is, it starts explaining itself to you. Now you don't even need nobody to answer no questions because the universe giving you the answers.
I'm aware. All right, I just want to say one more thing for real this time. Do you think part of the problem is because people just don't know who they are? They're not aware. They just, I mean, our memory. Have you ever seen a movie Paycheck? If you understand that movie, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like their memory has been erased. They don't
It
know who
is.
they. That's a big part,
This was the game.
right? So
Yeah,
do
When
you
but
you
you
think?
guys are
come in
talking
with your
about
memory erased.
you guys are
Do
talking
you?
about a game that was played. Basically, this civilization is finished, like you said before. A new game is coming. So therefore, this game here has expired, and therefore
How
you
you
have
just
to now subscribe to the new game.
how you just gonna
You
cut
dig
off
what I'm
the
saying?
whole subject? But Yosef, how you just gonna cut off the Elder Rod Hayes when he was answering the sister question? She didn't say Yosef. She was talking to the to him, bro. Damn, you just cut him off and your mic chopped.
My
But sis,
apologies.
go
My
ahead.
apologies. I
Ask
just
that
wanted to
question
make
to
a point.
Rod
That's
again.
all. I just.
Go ahead,
All right,
Naomi. My
brother,
bad.
brother,
That was
brother. You don't need to
a
go on. You don't need to go on. Let him come in, man. I apologize,
cut
please,
your mic
brother.
off
Come
if
on
I
in.
don't need
Come
to
on
go
in.
on. But mute up.
Do you think part of the healing process is time for people to start with themselves? Maybe people need to start with themselves and trying to, figure to know their self, come to know who they are on their own themselves. Do you think that is
Constructive,
process?
constructive selfishness. You gotta be selfish enough to get you right before you healthy enough to take on the burden of helping others. If you don't do the self work, you won't qualify to do the work in the world. because you still got self-work to do. So it's very critical to begin with the self, right? Because you got to always ask yourself, if you got to make a decision for a group of people and you thinking over the decision, you thinking about how the least and how the greatest of these people are going to be affected by your decision. And then you go through the spectrum and ask, well, how do you feel at each level? That's not a common trait of the current leaders. There's no understanding of the nature of the people you oppressing and giving them no relief. So the knowledge of self is critical to get into the relief. You have to be selfish enough to do the inner work, to make yourself strong enough to fight the outer fight. It's a fair exchange. The more self-work you do, the stronger you is to do the work for others.
Can I say something to you, Neon B? I think it is really important what you're saying, and I think that's something that we really do focus on in this channel. But the problem is we've all been taught different ways of knowing ourselves. So for instance, if I bring up Sister Freedom and she has to go at some Bible people because they want to believe the Bible in the literal sense, and she's bringing it back to say, hey, this is allegory, so you can know yourself, you can see yourself in the story and fit it. Well, someone that's already believing that there's talking snakes and donkeys and all this other stuff, you can't bring it back to themselves. So I think the problem has been that we quote, know thyself, but everyone has a different meaning of what that means to know yourself. And I think the biggest thing for us to answer this question is to know your family. You have to dig into that genealogy. You have to know who you are, where you come from, and then go in order. We talk about we want to take over the government before we take over our community. We talk about we want to take over the federal government before we take over the state. So there's steps to this, and I think trading with Africa is definitely a step, but it's not one of the first steps.
What are we trading with Africa? What do we need from them?
Why are you guys
I would say we can get minerals for them, but mainly we need to be the ones that are in control of our resources, as well as they need to be the ones that are in control of their resources. And then we can discuss what there is to trade, how we can maneuver trade, how we can do imports and exports, different things like that.
So what
does America give to the world? I want to ask
food,
you, Nocelia. What
gas,
what kind of food that Africa
corn.
doesn't have? What kind of food that Africa doesn't have? What food are you bringing us that we don't have? Please enlighten me.
We have the corn, tomatoes, rice.
We have all that. We have all that. So tell me, what are you bringing?
You have all that in the UK? Who's we? You have that in the UK?
Okay, you go.
Because I'm talking about Africans. Wait, are we confused of where you are? Because I can tell you for sure that we could cut out a middleman when it just comes to like what I know of Zimbabwe. We can cut out a middleman in between where they're the other people, the Chinese, the undone people, as Sister Frida called them, all this other stuff, and making billions of dollars in Zimbabwe a year off of American resources. And where we can stop having middlemen, but I don't think that's where we start. I don't think we start there. There's no way we can start there if we're not at a point where we need to be here first.
Yeah, so you always start with
we're gonna do for self. We're not gonna need you if that's the case. If we're doing
okay, hold your point, please. Go ahead, Rod.
So that's the reason why we in the current process of restoring who we are on the land, exercising birthright, right? So when he's telling us we from Africa and we exercising the birthright that we have to this land, it's a situation where we have to be adamantly against that philosophy that we are from Africa, because we not, first of all, but other than that, we in the process actively of reclaiming the land, and you can't take over at the top You have to work from the grassroots level. So when the sisters say you got to take our communities back first, right? But you got to have when you bringing down an old system and you want to try to keep the people as calm as possible, you usher in the new system. Just as one fall, you begin to work in the construct of the new system. Then at some point, the old system comes to an end. Okay, that's not longer working for us. We've exhausted this chapter of misery. We've seen through the waters. Now we come and raise our head to the sky. Now we can see who's who on the planet Earth. We don't have a problem with them people and we ain't got to solve nothing with them. We got a problem with our colonizers and they got a problem with their colonizers. We tend to agree with them about the problem they have with their colonizers, and they tend to agree with us about our problem with the colonizers, but they just don't think we're supposed to look like we look when they see us. Because when they see us, they assume that we should be over there on the other side of the ocean working on that liberation plan instead of the one that we got for our clans over here. Right. So I tell the brother we not from Africa to emphasize that we was always here, but the fact that we was all melanated around the world, it's an undisputed fact. People don't even realize the Neanderthals was some melanated Negroes. But now when you talk Neanderthal, everybody's talking about pale-skinned Europeans. They wasn't here yet when the Neanderthal was here. Wasn't no pale-faced Europeans when the Neanderthal was around. That's not even a debatable topic. Do you know that the pale-face only been around, they started about 8,400 years ago. So when you go back to Neanderthal, you're talking about 100,000 years ago or more. So you can't say they the Neanderthal, they wasn't even here.
They
So
all
would
came
considered the caveman though? Would that be considered the caveman?
The caveman is considered to be Australopithecus, the stage before they became Homo erectus.
Right, before they became upright.
Right. And the Neanderthal is the early stages of Homo erectus when he's starting to walk upright and use tools, according to their Darwinian theory. But they don't have answers for what's called the missing links, the sudden jump in the evolutionary ladder, right? But that's answered in the Anunnaki tablets when they told you they was tampering with the human genome in the laboratories, right? But we don't want to believe that society was ever that sophisticated, and we looking at the pyramids talking about how was they built.
That's our friend.
Right. But the whole thing is when you look at them, there's a reminder that culture had reached a very high level in order for the mathematics used in the pyramidal construct to have those large megalithic structures to be so tightly fit together in perfection. That means somebody was striving for perfection on Earth at some point.
Can I say something, Rod? Hold on, y'all said, but I want to say I want to say something really quick because people act like I have misinformation or something, and I don't like that. So, y'all said, I want you to know, okay, why I brought up rice, then you can look up other places or other resources. Africa imports over 40% of its rice. It's a $1.1 billion a year industry, because 40% of the rice is imported. So that's what I'm saying as far as when it comes to where we cultivate rice here, in the Americas. What I'm saying is getting to a point where we can be the ones making that $1.1 billion because we're the ones that ultimately were cultivating the rice. Rice is indigenous to here, but we can't start with that step. We can't start just being like, oh, I know I'm indigenous to here, I'm going to take over the rice. No, it starts by us focusing on here first and then moving to Niambi's point where we're actually getting back to what we were doing with people that are indigenous to Africa before. We know it's not called Africa, you know, but with different tribes that were in Africa being like, now let's establish trade, let's establish resources amongst each other and cut out all these middlemen that are making all this money off of our resources.
See, that's why I think you're wrong, because again, due to trade contracts, why you have this deal that you're speaking about. Other than that, we can take care of ourselves. We can
Hey,
grow
you
our rice.
staticky.
But
You're
right.
you're real staticky, and you say we could take care of ourselves, but as of today, 40% of the rice is imported, and it's a $1.1 billion a year industry. So you can say, oh well, we could do it ourselves. Well, but right now Asians are the ones that are making money off of y'all. It's not y'all doing it yourself. You're getting other people richer.
You're missing the point, though, Sonia.
And a
The
lot of the
point is
staples that are in
we're
the
tied
food
by
they
trade, by
come from America.
contracts,
Fix your mic. Fix your mic,
again,
brother.
when they give us these
Yeah, you
loans
may have to
and these
drop
monies,
Yasef
they
really
have ties
truthfully,
behind it.
truthfully, Yasef,
Which
because you're
forbids
really
us to
underwater.
do
What
certain
people are
things.
saying to you, because we can't understand you, Yasef, because you're underwater right now. If you could just try to fix your mic, because you're really underwater. We're not even lying to you.
Sorry, all right, hold on. I'm saying to you that
No,
We
okay,
can't
are
hear
drop
bound.
down.
you.
Samora, you have to drop down
Mute
and
your
come back up.
mic.
It's staticky. It's hard to hear
Yeah,
you.
just drop down and come right
Drop
back up.
down
Can y'all
and then
put the
come
link in
back
the
up,
chat for him? And then
please.
just come right
Drop
back up, and
down,
I think he'll
Samora.
fix it.
Drop down,
Okay.
and then you'll hit the link and you can come back up. But drop down now, okay?
I want to know. I was about to ask him, like, yo, is rice indigenous to Africa?
Because he'll go on and on. And
Absolutely not. He knows it's not. And they say that there's supposedly they say there's a lot of land that could cultivate rice that's being unused currently. So they say that could fix their problem. But I mean, we can say that all day, every day. But when you look at the imports of what's coming in, it could be beneficial as far as for us to take back what Dots is saying, our natural resources, and us be the ones that are actually trading it for our benefit.
Like Rod said, and that goes back to what Chief Pontiac was saying earlier. Like, we got tricked out of what we knew. Like, if we known that this rice was from here and it grew here wildly, and they came here and they cultivated it, you know what I mean, took it back there, and the corn and the tomato and the potato saved their life by itself.
We fed the world.
Man, and if we had known that back then, like Rod has said, man, we would not be in this predicament we are at now. And because it's been for so long, and because there was so many different aspects coming at us and doing this to us, it's like, well, goddamn, where do we start? You know what I mean? So shouts out to Chief Pontiac, man, for letting us know where we should start at. And also not where we should start at, but get us halfway in the game. The rest is up to you from where you're at with your genealogy, because that's the only thing else that can save you from there or can take you farther. So shouts out to you, Chief Pontiac. You know
Appreciate
what I mean?
you, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm one of them 7'4", man. I'm shy, you know what I mean? Early 80s. You know what I'm talking about?
For sure.
15, 19, you know what I mean? 7'4" to the world blow.
Yes,
Just let you
sir.
know. Word. Word.
GD.
Hey, Dots, why you looking like a dinner?
I don't know if I see that.
Why you looking like a dinner tonight? You look like you got the house set up. You waiting for me to come to play the piano. You know, or while Ron sit on the couch whilst Ron sit on the couch and drop the history. I'm playing the piano while you cooking, you know, and you know, we got Nyambi just sitting there with her pad like she's the interviewer. You know, I see that. Let me stop, y'all. Let me stop, man.
Yeah.
Y'all smile, man. Smiling is always better than being sad, man. We done been duped for so long. And
but you know what? I think also
this much of hope.
I think well, oh, sorry, OTK. What were you saying?
Oh, my bad. I was saying this much of hope.
Okay.
Right here. This much of hope.
Yeah, no, I was saying that I think also that much of what you were talking about, Rod, right? It requires, I think, it requires some things that I don't think a lot of people have in 2024, and that's discipline and heart.
That's fact.
And most people ain't got that.
Correct.
I know sometimes I might sound like I
Can
might
we say
sound a little mean.
Yeah. Does environment have to deal with that? Go ahead, Rod. And elaborate with her question. Does environment have to deal with Sister Dots just say? Can that play an impact on the way that people feel?
Of course, you're a product of your environment. What goes on in your environment, it molds the person that you become because of what you have to deal with. That may not be the same if you would have grew up in a different environment. They've been running experiments with the chiefs when they catch them as babies. They take them from their mama and they adopt them to a foreign family that's not from the same blood stock to see if they can raise them different. The nature versus nurture experiment is what it's called. When they was taking these kids and swapping them out in the hospitals, they wanted to see if a Czechoslovakian woman could raise an Irish baby, so they switched them at birth. Right? They wanted to see if the Mohawk sister and the Shoshone sister can raise the baby like it's his own, so they switched them in the hospital. But they kept a record, you know, and a couple times they got caught. So we know what they was doing because they got caught. So the environment is definitely a factor on how you perceive the world. Because what you see first is what you learn to use as your defense offense strategy as you move through life.
So it starts with your environment or community.
Yeah. Well, it don't start with them, it starts in your house.
Well, yeah.
It's the same way. It's the same way.
I was already advanced. Thank you for taking me back, bro. Yes. Where do we need to start from? My fault for going too far ahead. Yes, we need to start in the house. Go ahead, Chief.
When the chief is born, the chief don't just automatically become the chief. He had to first go through all of the lessons with his immediate family, right? Then the families determine that he's now ready to go in the community and to meet the different other up and coming chiefs to establish his ranking system in the hierarchy of the next set of chiefs that's rising up on the land. Once he get done being examined by his local community, if he get the love and respect, now they send him out into foreign communities. They might send a boy from Detroit to LA to see how he can hold his own based on what he was taught in his own culture. Right? If he was taught the right lessons on respect and discipline, when he go to other lands, he already know that he have to respect the people from that land if he want them to give him the respect back. I'm a GD. I can't go out to LA telling the Crips how to run nothing, right? I can go out there and give them their respect and then sit down with their OGs and say, look at what I learned. And if you want me to help you use it, I will. Right? That means I ain't telling them what to do. I'm showing them what I got to offer and offering my assistance and making sure it's workable. Right? The same if they'd have sent me to New York. I'd have had to visit all 5 boroughs because I've been there. I had to do it. I'm going to have to go to New Jersey. I'm going to have to see what the surrounding areas is and how the people respond according to the culture of that area. It ain't the same as Chicago. It ain't the same as Detroit. It's its own culture. So if you learn your culture correctly, it teaches you how to respect other people's culture. So when they send you to the other tribes, the Delaware tribes, the New York tribes, to be examined to determine if they're going to give you a pass as a chief. And somebody always going to have a big mama going to say, you a nice little boy, and send you on about your way. No, keep these other boys out of trouble. You pass the test. Chiefs are developed by being exposed to the environments of different tribes based on his developmental life function. And they use the environments to test the chief to determine if he's worth his weight in what he brings. And if he brings solutions to problem, all other chiefs is supposed to pay attention to the solution and determine if it's applicable where they are. And the rule is, if it's applicable anywhere, it's applicable everywhere. If it's not applicable everywhere, it's not truly applicable anywhere, right? So once we know that we have to solve problems that help the most people, then we go to tasks in using the environment to learn how to correct the social engineering that's taking place in the environment. Once we combat the social engineering, now we can begin to see clearer our path.
Thank you so much, Rob. We always appreciate you coming. It's been 3 hours. We've taken up so much of your time, and you just give it willingly, which we are so grateful for. We'll let Yosef say something for you to respond to, then Ralph Gooden, then we're going to do one last round, you guys.
Hey, thank y'all, sis. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bounce now. I'm out, man, because Rob gonna close this thing out. Appreciate y'all, man. Hey, love you, brother, Chief Pontiac. You know what I mean? And you seen that Hoover came up. He's about to go to a trial, his first ever court hearing. You know what I mean? I'm waiting to hear the outcome on that. You know what I mean? Shouts out to Hoover, man. You know what I mean? Shouts out to my people from out of the shop. Unscrambled Minds, I love y'all. Hey, man.
We
Yasha.
love you too. Thank you so much, OTK, for coming up.
I'll catch you, Yasha, on another day, man.
All right. 7-4.
All right. Okay.
Yosef, what did you want to say? And then Rob will respond to what you were trying to say. And then Ralph, we'll get you right after.
I mean, listen, I kind of forgot my point, but what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to do, is
it wasn't that important. Did you want to ask a question before you go?
No, I was just going to say that basically that, listen, he's sharing his opinion, and I appreciate that. I mean, so yeah, I'm just going to fall back and let him, just carry on with what he's doing. It's not a contest. It's just a sharing of information. So people will pick up wherever they want to pick up at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm not here to challenge him on anything or anything like that. We're just having a conversation. So yeah, man, peace to you, brother, and peace to everyone on the panel. Dots, Sister Dots, Sister Freedom, Sister Dots in there, and also the other ladies and the gentlemen that just left the panel. Peace.
Peace, brother.
Peace, Joseph. Peace, Rathberg. Am I saying that correctly?
Can I make a quick statement before?
Yeah, go ahead.
You got the flow.
Yes.
Go ahead, Raph.
Yeah, I heard all y'all building. Rod, I'm a great, big fan. You do great work.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
And yeah, I just wanted to say it's a little lag with the audio, so forgive me. But I just wanted to say we have to realize that we all look the same. We all look the same, but we have different genetics and haplogroups. And like a lot of the Africans are mixed with like Neanderthal and Homo erectus. And so like we have a little bit of different genetic stock here in the Americas that we don't have, I mean, or that the Africans don't have. And another thing is like, and that the first continent to raise up out the water was America from Toronto to about Delaware. It's called like the Laurentian Mountains up in Toronto, and that's all the way down to upper state New York. And so like we've been here longer than everyone else. And it was like ancient Americans that moved over to Africa and started those different groups of people and races over in Africa and all the rest of the world. Asians are mixed with human genetics and Denisovan genetics. Africans are mixed with Homo erectus and Neanderthal genetics. We're like the ones over here in America that's basically only human genetics. So it's like everyone has to understand that we may all look the same, but we have different genetics and different haplogroups that everyone else don't have. And we can't take it from how everyone looks. They look similar with skin tone and hair, hair type and stuff like that. Like we got to get a little more deeper into genetics and stuff like that to really kind of understand like everyone's position and like why they're saying what they're saying, why they feel the way they feel.
And most of them feel the way they feel because of the education they've been given. And the education they've been given has been under the control of the colonizers. And they haven't broke the cognitive dissonance in the revelations of the reality of different groups of people was always on all of the continents. And they got, like you say, different haplogroups, different genetic strains. But based on the climate of the when the Earth was Tiamat, the climate was different. Everything was tropical. Now we got seasons. And different parts of the planet experience seasons differently. Right? And the Darwinian philosophy that they push, all of the different groups changed from the dark melanated people to the lighter, straighter haired people due to climatic conditions. But we know it was laboratory experiments being done to create worker races of people. And this is why you got different genetic stocks is different.
And I think that's why like yeah, I'm sorry. Like I think that's why like these people that we're calling Caucasians and Asians that have lighter skin and like that, they come up that way because they're showing recessive genetics from those different admixtures of things that were similar to humans. They're hominids, but they're not humans. They're different species, being Neanderthal, Denisovan, Homo erectus, Australopithecus, and that's causing different recessive genes that come up in some of those people that have that admixture that original people don't have.
Well, you got hierarchies of different bloodlines based on a length of stay on the planet. The bloodline known as the Lac Z bloodline is called the immortal
Exactly.
bloodline, is the mother line mitochondrial link to the soils of the earth. And the mothers of the land can always be genetic tested with the earth to determine if their DNA is compatible with the geography based on their mitochondria. And they'll tell you where they're from. She from here. These sisters over here, they can read the earth talk to them. And that's why Sister Freedom dots them. They can tell by the energy projected by the people from the land is different than the people who not from the land. And most of the time, the people not from the land carries an agenda that's belligerent to us. It's part of the propaganda war.
Exactly. And that's like if we would,
I'm not sure why it freezes up on you,
like if
but we heard.
we was
Okay.
to give blood transfusion, to take blood transfusions from some different people that look like us.
I think the ancestors are saying,
Yeah, like we can actually die or we could kill them just from having different types of blood, although we look alike.
Yeah, different blood groups.
That's a fact. Well, thank you so much, Raf, for no, sorry if I'm just demolishing your name, but Rafferg.
So I think,
What is it?
no problem. Sorry, y'all. I just wanted to say that and get that off, just because I think we all just got to look a little deeper into like more science, like genetics, biology, and a bunch of other stuff.
Thank you so much. Okay, Sister Freedom, let's go ahead and get our last go around.
Peace,
Well,
everybody.
thank you for coming,
Peace and love.
Ferg. I think. Okay. Well, I
Right.
just say thank you.
What about
Rob.
the other sister? She don't got a question. Yeah, Nyambi.
Always a pleasure because it's always an interesting conversation, and I learn something every single time that you come on. And I hope that you come back soon. Come back again with us. We always have fun when you're on here. And I'm gonna have some real mysterious questions for you next. I gotta look into some stuff and see
Okay.
what you know about the Hindu world. Since that's supposed to be the first religion. But hey, Sword.
Hinduism not a religion.
Oh well, okay. Okay.
There's
Well,
only 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
okay.
Those are all 3 Roman controlled constructs.
Mm-hmm. Well,
why do you say Hinduism is not a religion? Why do you say that?
right.
Because Hinduism has so much more than just a religion would have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they have a lot of it's really more, the term Hindu is more applicable to the people than the practices of the people. They have what's called spirit science. Spirit science is not the same as religion. Spirit science is supposed to give you keys to liberate your soul. Religion is supposed to lock you down in a self-binding ritual to restrict yourself. They don't have the same purpose at its source. And my
But
phone
don't
about
you
that.
believe in the caste system?
Yeah, but the caste system has nothing to do with religion. That's
But
some Anunnaki shit.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking just in terms of balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of energy. So if there's a segregation of people based on quote unquote class, it doesn't breed balance. It doesn't breed not equality, but equity. It doesn't, it's a unhealthy, unbalanced type of dynamic.
Hinduism was in place long before the caste system.
Correct.
The caste system is a later addition when the Anunnaki wars, those ones at the top, the royal families, is Enlil children. The ones at the bottom called Dravidians with the afros looking like the Jacksons in the 70s, those Inky kids. They had to take the bottom because Enlil pulled rank on Inky and put his children at the bottom, put Inky children at the bottom and his children on the top. It's the same with Zeus putting Alexander in charge to usurp the Greeks in order to establish Rome. It's the same thing. Okay. But the religion came out of Rome as a social control mechanism. The spirit sciences in Hinduism was there before any of the political dynamics of the caste system was established, because it was supposed to have been a spiritual community that was originally set up. And that's why a lot of the Sanskrit words have a lot of power in them. Because as long as you're trying to be them, they 100% right. You are an imbecile in a legal jurisdiction. And you keep traversing on their jurisdiction because you don't know no better. As soon as you learn better, you separate. Ain't nobody getting to their trust until we get done with this shit. And then you ain't gonna have to look for what's yours because the order has already been given. Give everybody what they rightfully earned, what they rightfully deserve by the law of right, which is the law of righteousness, right? So if you took their family shit, this the Jubilee year for you to give it back. We gotta have enough memory of the culture because all of the parts of the story is in our culture, told in song and dance and art, where a picture worth 1,000 words, where we reading pictures, right? Because we didn't just read the written word. All of our written documents was kept at Big Mama house. So if you go back and you find out that a lot of our elders' birth records got burned up in the town square, in the city hall building, and they all burned them down to get rid of the records. But the records that predate 1492 is kept in caves in national parks so that we can't stumble across them. And then they flood us with misinformation to deliberately mislead the people. And anybody that try to tell us what's going on become marked for death. That's a Steven Seagal Italian knock for you. Marked for death.
In my head, not even in my head, like in my body, in my spirit, whenever, like, all I feel like and all I can sense, the best reference I have is I grew up watching Sailor Moon in Italy, and I've recently had it on in the background just playing, and I'm just blown away by all the symbolism in there to begin with. And all I truly feel and see is like Crystal City. That's where I feel like I'm going next.
Right. The Crystal City is going to land in Colorado on Emerald Lake. It's a jumper ship. That's the Cordoba, the city of gold they couldn't find. Because when the Anunnaki wars took place, when Enlil launched his power attack on Earth, that's the ship that Enki's son Marduk took to Nibiru. And when Enlil's son Marduk took over Earth, Enki's son Marduk took over Nibiru so that the Enlil won't shoot for his father's seat of power, which would have really been fucked. So when the ship come back, that's where it's going to land. In that county that Emerald Lake is in is called I think it's called Bow County.
Mm-hmm.
And that county is shaped like the Liberty Bell.
So now that I'm talking to you, I actually, when I was a child, like elementary school child, I read a book that talked about this like crater hitting somewhere, creating a lake, and then like these vampires or like other beings came out. And I keep thinking about that book a lot.
What's the name of it?
I don't remember at all, because it was an Italian book too, because I was in Italy at the time. But then
because they got books over in Europe that we don't get, we don't have over here, and the information that they put out in the public domain over there is no ways the same as the information we get. When we get Oxford University's History of the World and Georgetown University History of the World, Georgetown is over here, Oxford is over there. But when you look at the history of the world, they tell two entirely different stories.
That, like, I follow that because I'm assuming it's because, you know, the experience, the life experience that I've had, where I've lived in 3 different continents, and I did go through the Italian educational system. And I say it often, but I haven't really learned anything since I've been in the States. I've learned how to play the system because the universities have always tried to like tell me one thing over the other, as far as like what my progress was. But then I moved to Atlanta. A few years later, I went to visit NOLA for the first time with a girlfriend. We walked into a voodoo shop, and we ended up speaking to a woman who was doing readings, and we ended up speaking to her for hours. And she was reading my friend and like giving her messages and all sorts of things. And then she looks at me, and at that time, plenty of quote unquote weird things had happened in my life, but I never really truly embraced it because my grandma was schizophrenic and my mom has a ton of trauma from it. So it's never really spoken about until I started asking questions recently. But that woman, when she came to me, she just looked at me for a few minutes and she was like, I can't read you. Like, all I'm getting is deep waters. And
that's your mother line's protection, a veil that they put up for the oracles. That should have told her a couple of things. That one, that you come from an earth tribe, because everybody, but your earth tribe is waterbenders. When your birthday?
January 28th. So I'm in Aquarius.
Yep. So you write on the energy signature for that. That's why she couldn't see nothing but the waters.
And I love the water.
So when you go back and you study the customs of old Italy, they had the same Big Mama. You know what I'm talking about? The old lady that make, come here, son, sit down and eat. You're not leaving my house without a plate. That lady, right? That's an earth trait. That's not Anunnaki. We do that on Earth. It's a mother thing to do. And on the feminine planet, you can tell those native, because these women have to feed you before you leave, because if something happened to you, she could have gave you your last meal and received the blessing for feeding you before you went out.
So if she wasn't able to read me, but I also wasn't trying to make it easy for her to read me.
I know, because you wired that way from your life experiences and your genetic memory.
So what about when I do go get readings and they're very on point? Is it because I'm more open?
You participate.
Okay.
Right, because you have to trust the person doing the reading enough to participate, and then they can pick it all up.
Right. And speaking of, you know, Italian ways, a few years ago, I was listening to Imani heavily, and she was talking about she was just not gonna interact with us anymore and stop going live because she was catching a lot of backlash for it. And I remember feeling also—
Who is she?
The Hood Healer.
Okay, all right, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's how I found you, through her.
Mm.
But this was
She
before
asks
even
good
the
questions too.
What's up?
She asks really good questions.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I saw that live and I was just shook. I was so confused, and not confused at all. Like, it was the weirdest feeling. And luckily I had one person that I could share the video with, and they confirmed a lot of things that I have been feeling, going through my whole life. I'm gonna stop going on live. I'm gonna stop doing the readings. And I freaked out a little bit because she was just like so on point, and like I was receiving her messages and whatever she was saying. But anyways, I go to an artist market, and there's a book there that's called Italian Witchcraft. And I just pick it up, and the girls are like, that's so funny. My partner didn't want me to bring this book. It's a rare book, but I just brought it. And then when I was reading it, I was like, I feel like I know all this stuff, but I don't know how I know the stuff, because it's
genetic memory. When you pick up a book and you like, it's Italian, real true Italian magic is based around food.
I believe that.
Spirit cooking. Like a lot of what Abramovich was doing with spirit cooking, she used the blood rights of the Babylonian blood magic and instituted them into the Italian cooking. And she's from Russia. He was an agent that came over here in a witness protection program from Russia through the CIA. That's why Abramovich was even here. Mm. But she was protected by the old man George. But Bush brought the individual over here. Right? I ran across a lot of people telling me to abandon the people that sent me on the mission because they didn't like the way they looked. But they sent me to go extract their ass from some dumb shit. That make this shit make sense. You a soldier, I'm a soldier. The general sent me to come get you, and you want me to abandon the general in order to run off with you. Make it make sense. It don't work like that.
So, like, is it possible that Grandpa knew more things that he ever shared with anyone?
Yeah, a lot of what was going on in World War II was kept secret because they didn't want their children privy to that type of traumatic information.
But at the same time, he's the one that was married to my grandma, the schizophrenic, and
that just means she was an untrained oracle.
I'm aware, but nobody in the family saw it like that. Especially now.
You're the only one supposed to figure it out. Okay. That's your job. You're the family redeemer.
The family is all spread out. I don't talk to anybody from.
You still the family redeemer. You still the family redeemer. No, that don't matter. Your birth position in your family tree classified you as the family redeemer. That's why you're born under Aquarius. We're going into the Aquarian age. The water signs rule with the wisdom of the ages.
So, like, regardless of the fact that nobody in my family
hears
what I'm talking about,
look, they don't have to hear you. When the shit get done clearing up, they gonna look for you because they're not gonna be able to get to their family bank without you.
And whatever information I feel like I'm still missing, that's just gonna.
It'll come
in.
Yeah, because if you get everything at one time, you won't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Knowledge comes in degrees and by level. The level of understanding increases the level of information. If you're not mentally prepared to process it, digest it, and apply it, it has to wait until you develop to the point you are. And that's why it takes some of us 50 years to be an elder, but others are elders at 33 or 42 or 44.
Okay.
Because it takes us different levels. The older souls take the longest to wake up because they do everything slow.
It's just, I'm so grateful for you because, like I said, I've had so many questions, especially like things just started happening when I got to Atlanta. Like my diet started changing, just like weird things. And that's really when I started becoming aware of like these questions that I've had, and then this like anger towards men, although like personally in my life I've had shitty boyfriends, but I've had great men around me, and I never quite understood where that
So let
comes
me explain it to you so you can understand. The reason why a lot of women are put off with men is because there's been an ongoing rape campaign, desecration of holy places, which mean the mutilation of women, both vaginally and both the mammary glands, desecration of the holy places. The women who are in sync with Mother Earth know that she's going through the same thing, right? They cut down the tree of life in South Africa because that's where we used to store our memory. So when we reconnect back to the tree of eternity, the tree of life, but we put our hands on it and it grounds, and our consciousness will feed through our body, and our DNA will begin unlocking in levels. And we used to do these rituals. We had the major one, the mother tree was in South Africa at the Yoni of Earth's Yoni. But you had these trees all over the world where tribes would go to upload and download information. The trees are record keepers of the earth as well as the stones, right? So we go and we put our hands on the tree and our bare feet to the earth, and whatever signature our family over the years is left in the tree uploads into our system through a cycle of information exchange between you and the tree. That's why they are so gung-ho on chopping these trees down. They got a whole campaign been running in South America for the last 200 years, and they can't get the Amazon rainforest chopped down fast enough. But now it's too late because all these tribes waking up.
Okay, so South America cutting down trees, then why is South America in the state that it's in? And I'm particularly thinking about Venezuela. Like, my mom went maybe 5-6 years ago and had a mental breakdown when she was there because of like how scarce the resources are.
They still have war energy hovering over them. The whole South America, Central America, North America has been in a warlock for the last 200 years. So when we go back to Venezuela, Colombia,